Alright, so in this video we are going to be talking everything timing. This is going to be a video purely focused on timing and setting up your points ignition. So I'm going to go through static timing, show you how to do that, show you what needs to be done, and then we're going to go into dynamic timing. So that's going to be when the engine's running, shooting a timing light at this thing. So I want to try and sneak a little more timing into this thing to make it faster. But maybe your bike's just not running real well and you want to check it. So this is a perfect video for that. Alright, so basically this video is going to be pretty specific to our alternator engines, so like our cone shovels and like our Evo stuff. Alright, so basically where we're going to start when we're setting up the timing on one of these, we're going to start with our static timing, and that's basically putting the timing to a reference point. So somewhere where the engine will run and, you know, it'll run pretty well. Most of the time I put it on static and the thing will run and ride perfectly. You might have to just adjust it a little bit, see what it likes, but 9 times out of 10, they'll run pretty well static. But if, like this thing, you want it a bit faster or you want to just double check where your timing is, that's when you go through and dynamic timing. So let's just start with our static stuff first. So this video is going to be pretty specific to our cone motors. So when we talk about a cone, this is referred to as the cone. So when we go to a slab side where they have the slab on the side, generator engines, they're a bit different. You've got your timing here and your timing marks change. Although our timing marks do change between these shovel years, it's best just to work out what year your engine is and then work out what timing marks it's supposed to have. You know, some engines have a line on your flywheels as your advance mark. Some of them are top dead center mark. Some of them will have a dot for your advance mark. Some of them will have 2 dots for like your rear cylinder advance mark. Just stuff like that. Just go through, work out what year engine you've got and work out what timing marks you're going to see on your flywheels when we're timing this thing. So basically, where to start with our static timing. I'm going to rip this timing out. This thing runs pretty well. I timed this a while ago, but as I said, I just want to sort of have a look, see where it's at. Maybe we can sneak a little more timing into this thing, make it a little bit faster, but generally, if you've got an old shitter like this, you don't really care about the speed. It's more about looks if you're a hipster. So let's go through this thing. If, like me, you've already got this thing timed and it's running pretty well and you want to fiddle with it, you want to mark your timing. So if you go one direction and it doesn't like it, you know where you can go back to and you know where this engine likes to live. So coming a little bit closer, I'm going to mark this point setup and then we're going to tear it out and have a look what we're dealing with. Alright, so this is pretty well standard to what you're going to see inside your points setup. So you've got your little follower here, these are your points here, like this is your condenser, and this back guy, this is your points plate. That's what you spin to adjust your timing. Now you see you've got these slots in it off to the side here. So this thing is quite far retarded already as it is. So usually you'll see the timing is pretty close to the center of this plate. So this is another reason why I want to check the dynamic timing, but let's just focus on static. So like I said, because I've already had this running, I'm just going to put a mark in here with my pen. That's a pretty shit mark, but I know that I can come back to this point and then I know my timing is going to be pretty right. You can scratch this with a screwdriver as well if you really want. That'll make it a bit more accurate. It's Dale, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so let's pull this out and see what we're working with. We have an automatic advance unit behind here. So on some of your generator engines, if you guys with your generator shovels or your pans are watching this, some of you guys won't have an automatic advance. You'll just have a solid set timer. So the idea of a mechanical advance is that when the engine's at idle, at slow revving, it retards the timing so that it's easier to start and easier to run. And then when you're accelerating, the weights expand and it gets more timing. So I'll show you how that works when I pull this points plate out. Don't pull that out, we need that. All right, so that is basically what our points plate looks like. Super simple, nothing really going on there. But behind here is the mechanical advance I'm talking about. So see how it flings open like that, and then our cam follower here, this is what triggers our points. That moves. So when the engine gets faster, these weights increase, and that increases the timing, and then when it gets slower, it retards the timing. So that is pretty well what we need to check when we are dynamic timing this thing. We will see when we rev it up, the timing will increase, and then when it slows down, the timing will decrease. So when you're looking at this, you want to make sure these are serviced. One of the major issues with these failing is no one ever oils them. They just expect them to be oiled. As you can see, we've got a bit of oil coming past our cam. Like the cam is behind this. This bolts directly to the cam, and we have a seal behind there. So obviously that's leaking a bit, but that'll mean this guy's getting plenty of oil. So I'm not gonna worry too much about that. So basically make sure this guy works, make sure she's nice and free like that. If you're really hot rodding these things, you can fuck around with these springs, put different weight springs in to change your timing curve, but let's not go into that. Let's just leave it, they function nicely. So let's put our points plate back in. Let's give it a quick clean up. One here. All right, so let's put this back in now. So that's somewhere where it was. You can see where the hole is and how much adjustment we have left. It's really far off to one side. So that's basically why I want to check this dynamic timing. So we're just going to put these back in. And we don't want to nip them up. We just want to have them tightish so they don't fall out. All right, so we got all this just buttoned back up, basically just sitting in there so that we can come through, and we need to find top dead center on our engine now. So what we need to do to find that, we come over here, pop out a couple of these. So what we're doing here, we need to find top dead center on compression stroke. So that means the front cylinder will be on top dead center. The way we work out compression stroke, we need to have a look what the valves are doing, because compression stroke's in relation to the valves and crank. It could be 180 out, and that's not what we want. So basically what we're going to do here, we're going to watch our push rods here. So obviously intake push rod, exhaust push rod. When both of these are closed, that means we're on compression stroke. So we're just going to cycle this through. I've got the spark plugs out. So taking the spark plugs out makes this a lot easier. So let's cycle this through. You can see this one's going up. That means this will be on intake stroke. Coming down. So that means this is going to be on compression stroke. But let's just go through another rotation just to show you. So the engine's going through. So now we've got exhaust. So that was compression, and now the cylinder is exhausting the gases. Now we are back to an intake stroke, and then this is compression again. The other way you can tell, if you have a look at your little point guy here, the small lobe is your front cylinder. So that's coming up to spark, so we are in the right spot. So now we're going to go over the other side and have a look at the timing marks I was talking about. All right, so around the other side, this guy here, this is our timing hole. So what we want to do, we just want to pop the little guy out of here, and always be careful not to over tighten these wings. They are always stripped. So just always go easy on these things. Someone's put a little something on this. All right, so we want to pop this out. It's basically all it is, and on the other side of this is our flywheels. So I'm gonna see if we can get a better view so that you can see in here while I'm doing this. All right now, so with this better view, you can see inside the timing hole here. So on the other side, that dark bit, that is your flywheels. So on your flywheels there will be marks. And those marks will tell you like front cylinder top dead, front cylinder advance, and rear cylinder advance. Don't worry about any of the rear cylinder marks. We just want to focus on front cylinder marks. So as I said, you need to go through, work out what engine you've got, and work out what marks you're looking for. The other thing you can do, just to double check, you can stick a screwdriver in your spark plug hole, and that'll tell you whereabouts the piston is and whether it's an advance mark or a top dead mark. So we're just going to rotate this engine and look in here for a dot. So on this engine, the dot is the advance mark. So let's just slowly turn it over. There it is. So that's our advance mark. Now, because I'm going to dynamic time this, I'm going to do something a little bit tricky here. So I'm going to get my rule. And a pen. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark this position here. So that's going to be my indicator. And then I'm also going to mark here. So what this is going to do, when I shoot my timing light, I'm going to be able to see on this pulley with my indicator here what the timing's doing. Yes, you can put a little clear plug in the timing hole and shoot your timing light at it, but if anyone's actually done that, they know it doesn't work. For starters, you shoot the light and the light reflects off the bung, so you can't see the hole anyway. And secondly, this flywheel is covered in oil when it's spinning, so you can't see the marks anyway. So this is the little fail-safe, easy way to do it. So put our mark there. So this is our advance mark. So I'm just going to put an A here. So that's our advance mark. And then we keep turning this thing, and now we look for our top dead mark. There it is. Whoop. Top dead. So that is our top dead mark. So we want to mark that as well. And again, we're only mark this if you're going to do dynamic, because all we need is this mark to do static. So that is our static timed mark. So now that we have the engine on our top dead, we can go back over the other side and then set the points up. All right, now that we have the engine at top dead center, what we want to do is grab our humble test light here. You want to put one side on your points here. So that's where the points powers. So you have one wire from your coil. So you want to put your test light, you want to put one end of your test light straight under there, and the other one just needs to earth. So I'm just going to stick this somewhere here so we can see it. So we're going to look for that to light up. And we need the ignition on as well. So I'm going to turn the ignition on. So you see how we've got light here. So we want to adjust the timing till the light just goes out. So we'll loosen this and spin this a little bit. So when we turn this, so we've got no light, light on. No light, light on. So we want it just on the light off. So I had it in the right spot. So that is the static timing set. Now, as I said, the bike will run and ride fine here, but I just want to double check this. So I want to double check that that timing is correct. And by the way we do that, we're going to dynamic time it now. So I've got this pretty well locked up here. Not heaps, because I probably will make a change. So we need to put our push rods back in and put our spark plugs back in, and then we're going to run this thing. Alright, so now that we've got all that done, we have the bike static time. So if you weren't worried about dynamic timing, you turn this shit off and carry on with your life and take your bike for a ride. But if you do want to just double check it, and like I want to have a look at it, see if I can squeeze a bit more timing into this thing, because it is pretty quick. It's a fun bike to ride. It's a later model shovel, so you can beat on them a bit more. So I'm gonna go through and dynamic time this thing. So to do that, we're gonna need a trusty old timing light. So if you guys don't know what a timing light is, maybe you haven't used one before, super common to use one of these with like an old carbureted car with a Dizzy, same thing. Basically all you do with these things, you've got two terminals which we put on the battery. So get rid of the seat. So we've basically got a positive and negative. So we just put that on our battery. And then the last one is this clip. So this clip goes on your lead. So front cylinder we need to look at. So this goes on front cylinder lead. And just be careful, these have a direction. So your spark is heading in a direction. These have an arrow on them, so it needs to go in the right direction. I have been caught with that before. So we're gonna put that on in that direction. We'll put it away from our rear cylinder lead just so we don't get mixed up. Keep the wires away from your open primary because they will get caught and it will tear this thing to shreds. So we're gonna be mindful not to do that. So basically what this is gonna do, when that front cylinder spark plug fires, it's gonna shoot this light. And then we can shoot our light onto these marks we've made on our front pulley, and that'll tell us exactly what the timing's doing. So basically, when the thing's idling, we want it somewhere close to this top dead mark, and then on advance, we want it as close to that. So when I say advance, we mean when the weights on our mechanical advance open. So when we rev this thing up, they will open. We want it at max advance on that line when we're shooting this light. So let's start this thing up. I'll move this camera so we can look dead into it and we can see what this thing's at. Alright, so I have my timing light set up. I have my cables all away from all our primary stuff. So I'm going to start this thing up now, and then I'm going to shoot the light at these marks. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear me talk over the engine, or I might even have to turn this light out so you can see this better. But I'm going to go through and rev the engine, and you'll be able to watch this advance mark move closer to this mark at the top. So this is our indicator. These marks are going to be referenced off this indicator. So when it's down on idle, I want it close to this one. And then when it's up with the mechanical advance, fully advanced, when the engine's revving, we want it right on this one. So I'm going to be revving the engine and you're going to be able to watch this move closer. So I'll start it up and let's have a look. Sweet, so that is this thing dynamic time now. As you can see, my timing light is not amazing. So I should upgrade in a new one, but hopefully you guys saw it on the camera there. and you've got a good idea of how this is done. So, alright, so that is pretty well it on this static and dynamic timing video. Hopefully this has helped you tune up your big twin, getting it running better than ever. If there's anything you want to see on this channel, just drop it in the comments below. Maybe I can get around to doing a video on it. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one.